Keep the flow moving along. I'm pleased to introduce Milan Ruka. Now, unfortunately, well not unfortunately, we are unable to take photos of his kōrero. We do have the camera rolling, but this footage will be captured just for Milan's needs and requirements. He has a patent pending, and therefore it's very important. It's a commercially sensitive conversation. So is that okay if we all respect that and just ensure that what stays in the whare is left here in the whare? Ka pai? So today, what we're going to talk about is the power of the moana. How can tidal energy be harnessed for the benefit to power up our whānau in our communities? Big round of applause for Milan Ruka.
Te whare e tu nei, tēnā koutou. Nā iwi apu o Waitara, tēnā koutou katoa. Te whānau, tēnā koutou. Ko Milan Ruka Ao Hou. Oh, looking down there. Bit of whakapapa. Been around rivers all my life through my family, duck shooting, eeling, all of those things that we all have done in our past. And it still stays with me today as much as I can. Here's on the Missouri River many years ago. I've since started Mana Wairua Energy, 1999 Limited, when I first conceived my invention, the Ruka marine turbine. By the way, turbines are usually named after the inventor. The Gorlov turbine, the Francis turbine, I can't remember the others, but they're named after inventors, so I thought, well, I'll name my one, the Ruka marine turbine. And Environment River Patrol, I set that up in around about 2010 after looking at the Upper Wairua River with my uncle, and we realised it was very polluted. I've been away for 10 years overseas in Papua New Guinea, came home and our river was polluted in that short time. So I set up Environment River Patrol back in those days, and it still exists today. Part of our mahi is eeling. Eel surveys, this part of a 33 kilometres eel survey we done, and we found out that most of our tuna, our big adult tuna heki, all decimated through the power stations. That's how our rivers are up in the north there, on the Whakapara River, I think that is. It's my Uncle Henry, has since passed away, but that's the state of our rivers up there. Dead cattle everywhere. You'd think a beast, you know, costing $400 or whatever on the hoof, but that's a dairy cow there, but still all unfenced, and that's what the mahi we do in the past, and we still do it now. Some of you might know that's my notes. I'm not able to see them on the bottom, but that's Ken Mayer and Hedda Smith. Must be back about 2014, I think. Yeah, a lot of interest in our rivers up there. Uncle Henry, we also work on the space of Portati Springs, Māori Rights and Interest to Water, Y2358. Portati Springs is one of the strong cases for Māori ownership to water, and we just proved that a few weeks ago. We got 5,000 cubic metres a day from a consent that the Whanganui District Council has held for 33 years. But you've got to fight for these things. Kupe. Now, the great navigator. It's all within our veins, Kupe. I was fortunate to go to Raiatea in French Polynesia a few weeks back, and to learn a lot more about his life. And but I feel for myself, and I'm sure for many of us, you know, we've got that deep ingrained DNA of Kupe within us. And we all know that story, or many of us do. I had to learn it myself just recently about his journeys down here in the Hokianga. But I come from the Hokianga, also Ngāti Porou from down south here, of course. And but up in the Hokianga, he spent 20 years there, navigated his way down, navigated up and down the coast here, and then navigated his way back when he decided to go home. And so we know all about navigation, celestial navigation, the currents, all of those things, but we're not using them so much now. But great to see the revival of people like Hick Busby and all those waka up in Whangarei Harbour yesterday. What's today? Monday. On Saturday, because there's a big marine gathering up there. So that waka there, I'm not too sure of that name though, is up there now. Power stations. Renewable energy, that power station is the Wairua power station. It creates 3.5 megawatts and was built and commissioned in 1911. Since the day it was commissioned, the Alvas could not get past. They intercepted their natural course, which is the falls above there, and that's pretty typical of all of our power stations that we'll see. And you know, in the upper Clutha River, you'll see there's only a few adult tuna there, but there's very little. There's no fish pass almost for them to get back up and still populate to go back out. Once the big ones go out, that's it, finish. So power stations, that's one of the reasons why I think Māori often have, disagree with the hydro the way it is today. That's what we have available to us now, this type of thing, radial turbines, which have been around. In actual fact, the propeller has been around for several hundred years, and now it's formed into what you see here, marine energy. And the Kaipara Harbour, some of you may recall, the Moana down there's a huge project, was going to be up to 60 turbines there. But what they didn't do was they didn't consult with Māori. And of course, once iwi and hapu get in and get their say, as they did at the Kaipara, they closed the project down. But it was initiated really by just two gentlemen, or one of them from the UK, I'm not too sure where the other was from, but they were funded 1.4 million to do their reasoning for why they should have tidal turbines there. But Māori weren't funded 10 cents to object to it, but they won the case in the end. This here is, where's Manu Bennett? Oh yeah, Manu. I thought about you when I put this slide up, because Manu's a pilot of the big aircraft. But you'll see here, this United Kingdom turbine is, it says there, is as big as a 747. And the price, I haven't got my notes on the bottom, but the value of it was something like £7 million to date for that vessel. And it creates, each turbine there creates about 1 megawatt each. For those that maybe don't know what a megawatt is, that little power station we saw, 3.2 megawatts, does about 480 to 520 houses, apparently. And so £7 million there, and I think that was 16 million New Zealand dollars that vessel there cost. And so you could imagine that in New Zealand, Aotearoa, in all of our rivers and our moana, we can't even fit that in, never mind we being able to afford it. So not viable here, not commercially viable. Thank God for Mr. Muldoon, way back when he built all of our power stations. There's no little consenting in those days, but I think we were all thankful for what we got. But that was the civil works of the day, and now it's we don't want any more hydro power stations like this. But you can see all the energy still expelling from the bottom of these dams. Lots of energy going to waste. How can we recycle that? Roxburgh Dam, many dams we have here. I think 114 hydro dams we have in this country. The Clutha River, though, for Ruka Marine Turbine, the theory, not more than a theory now, it's proven for us. If you're standing on that bridge, it's 4 metres wide. Every 4 seconds, 2,456 tonnes of water moves underneath it. Now, how can you harness that? When you look at that other big orbital marine turbine, the double one in the United Kingdom, this water here is only about 3 metres deep, and so you need to harness it in a different way. It has to be, obviously it has to be elongated. It can't be radial to exploit the energy there. So that's what we're working on. Te Mana Wairua principles would be the first thing for Māori, as it should have been adopted into the Kaipara Moana initiative, the consent application there. But around about 4 years ago, I was fortunate to get onto the Ministry for Environment team to help develop Te Mana Wairua principles. We tried to get them for nationwide, where all iwi would still consider the same principles, but we do know we were very mindful all the way through this process of 12 months that each hapu and iwi has their own tino rangatiratanga. They will adopt it to their own principles. But that's what we need to move forward into marine energy in this country. Mātauranga Māori, I'm a bit, what would you call it, random here. I've got subjects all over the place. But Mātauranga Māori, we know is whakapapa, wairua, tikanga, te taio. We have to consider all of these things and blend them in with Te Mana Wairua to move forward in the marine energy space. Without them, things will go wrong. You know, we're mana whakahaere, kaitiakitanga, manaakitanga, governance, stewardship, care and respect, all of those things go together. So at the moment up in Hokianga, I just put a funding application in with the hapu there, trust up there, on the at the Rawini, between the Rawini and Kohukohu. And because I couldn't get funding for my project itself, I thought, well, we've got to utilise this funding space and make an application. And then it dawned to me one night, sleepless night, AEE and CIA, that we could use that fund for exactly what we consider Te Mana Wairua and all of those things. So AEE is assessment of environmental effects from a Māori perspective, and the CIA is the cultural impact report from a Māori perspective. So before we consider anything, any deployment whatsoever, you'd have both of those tools and doing them in their own, coming back to the Te Mana Wairua ethics and principles that we would use. So I think that's hugely important for any project to consider. Māori come in and are funded to go through that process. So we started on a prototype, and that's quite an old picture there, about 3 years old now, I think. But it's got 15 components there, flotation components. So it's a floating vessel, floating turbine. It's not anchored in the bottom of the water, and that's just a prototype there. You have to float it somehow. Each component can be pretty well managed into place by Mātua and myself. We could do it in probably about 2 days. Yeah. And now it's patented. So the Ruka marine turbine concept started in 1999, breaking in horses. Where's my whananga here? Doing the same, breaking them in the Wairua Canal, which is a power station. That power station I showed you earlier. We push our horses down the canal, wear them out, ride them back home. But that's where I got my idea, with a bucket of water, having to fill up our troughs every night. But the project's now invested over $350,000 so far. Still looking for, that's of my own personal investment, and still looking for funding now. Got New Zealand provisional patent in place, so I can't give the details about the project, so excuse me for that. Yeah, it's not complicated technology, and once you see it, you can say, oh yes, I can see how that works. You've got to keep your IP in place. It's very important. But if anybody, investors, want to come along and ask more, we'll get the non-disclosure document ready for you. And yeah, so queue up there. Prototype is 60% complete already in the workshop. Just for a shaft alone is $9,000. For other components, $13,000, and that's just for one end of this project. There's two ends to it. It's an expensive process. seeking about 250 to get it ready to deploy. It's floating, turbine, elongated, has a capacity to extend out from 50 to 250 kilowatts for this prototype. Capable to run electrical generator, desalination plant, irrigation pumps, hydrogen. I think that hydrogen will be the end product that we'll be using in around the world. I think what we've got to do is have that breakthrough technology that creates the hydrogen cheap enough. Pretty much everything, the safety factor for it's been worked out, and we'll deal a little bit with that later. Now, I haven't got the information here down the bottom, but the QE2 apparently was in here 3 or 4 years ago. Can anybody put their hands up that saw the QE2 come into New Plymouth? Oh, kia ora. She's 90,000 tonnes, and Mātauranga Māori, I'm coming back to that again. Is there any writing on the next one? Yes. Yes, 7th of December 23. She visited here, 90,000 tonnes, I got that right. Have over 2,000 passengers and 900 crew. The tidal range that day peaked at 2.7 metres high, and it goes down to, and the low tide was at 5 in the morning, high tide at 10:47. So what I want to say to you, in Mātauranga Māori, mostly Māori here, and of our manuhiri here, what happened there with that ship? Can I ask someone, anyone want to say what happened to that ship? 90,000 tonnes. Huge energy force right in front of you. It lifted up 2.7 metres and went down 90,000 tonnes. Mātauranga Māori, how can we utilise that? It's not that hard when you go home and think about it tonight. Give me a call. But just saying, you know, we need to look at these things and how can we harness the energy. The greatest forces out there is the moving currents and the rise and fall. Neither of them are used commercially. They're not exploited commercially yet. They're getting close with tidal currents, but still not. Wave energy, huge multi-million-dollar projects, but they're just not commercially viable. Raiatea, they've the Tahitians, they came over and visited. Long story, that one. I managed to get right in the middle in the background. But that's visiting our mayor, and they signed a Twin City Pact with Whangarei. And I got them, before they came, they rang me 4 days earlier, or their secretary, and said, oh, I would like to visit you about your marine energy project. So I made up that map there. But although it's tidal, yeah, as you can see, there's 2 islands there. This is in French Polynesia. We visited there, but each one of those dots there is where water current's coming in, but doesn't go out. It only goes out of the bigger outlets that are there. There's some 6 big outlets, but the water comes in like a river every day, continually, it doesn't stop. Because in the rise and fall in the tide is only about 250 mil or so, apparently. And it comes in one way and then wants to get out the other way. So they've never been able to tap into their resources, but with the device that we've got, they've accepted and signed an non-disclosure document that they're very happy to experiment there. Just a matter of getting funding. Trouble is the French Polynesians, they don't like the French government where the funding is likely to come from, but anyway, they're working through that. I say to our young lady that presented earlier on hydrogen, that has been hugely advanced, and Toyota there are, that cylinder there is about the size of a paper roll, and they fit them in the side of their experimental cars that they've got there, Toyota in Japan, and you can have a boot rack full of another 4 or 5 of them. I think that hydrogen that's compacted into there has six times more than the same volume of fuel, if I remember rightly, you know, if you're using diesel or petrol. So hydrogen's coming. It won't be batteries, I don't think. And it's very portable, you know. So if iwi and hapu could exploit the waters, say, of the Waitara here, by the way, how am I going for time? Okay. Oh, I got a bit of speed up. I saw the Waitara here, and in my few notes here, coming in, I was amazed, you know, because it's still this time of year, eh? There's still some heavy water in the rivers, and so I've done a little bit of homework when I just up the road here on my way in. It can flow 2.2 to 1 metres a second. So, you know, 1 second, boom, all the water's gone that far. Depth, the average of 1 to 3 metres deep from the bridge around about here, but the locals might tell me different, the hukainga. Please do, if I'm giving the wrong information here. This is just some roadside calculations. So, and with the flows there's roughly at any one time, maybe today, there would be there's 15 to 25 cubic metres per second moving. Per second, I don't know whether that's per foot, I can't remember, but it's huge volume of water. So, given 1 cubic metre, you know, there it weighs 1 tonne, you've got 15 tonnes moving like that, boom. How can you harness that? It's not that hard. You would use the Ruka marine turbine and you intercept it, but not just once, because you're only capturing a bit of the energy. You have to capture it multiple times. So in an elongated device, that's what can adapt to that, the water currents of the Waitara, you know. Then when you go further upriver, I couldn't believe, you know, the right time of the year. I've been down here a few times, but you have the other rivers, the Mangataki River, I think you call it, and that's got huge water honking down from when you come up into the hills here. But coming back to, people would say, well, we don't want to exploit our rivers like that. You know, we're not talking about dams. We're talking about hapu running it. First of all, they'll adapt their own principles of te mana o te wai. Is this acceptable for here? In all things, you know. You consult with your people through a process. And, yeah, if they say no, then it's a no-go. You know? But I say that it can all be done meeting our principles. We just have to deep dive into it and put on our kupe poutai and see if we can exploit our energy. Kia ora tātou katoa.
Kia ora, we got a gift coming your way as well. But do we have any questions from the floor before we take a brief break? Any questions from the floor? Who's interested in the Ruka marine turbine? When the patent goes, well, look, yes, we've got some whānau interested. That's cool. Over the next couple of days, Milan's going to be there. My hope is that we can get him in front of some investors so that they can actually tautoko the initiative. I think it's great to have grassroots inventors. I've known Milan for some time, and I've seen that big gadget in his old workshop. And he works so hard, not just on this, but also the Poroti Springs claim, as a volunteer, and he also said before he came in, Milan, if you just want to open up your shirt a little, he's also a Māori battalion historian along with his mama, and so when he came in, he just acknowledged all your hoia of the past, and he did say earlier that he likes to wear that his t-shirt just to again that hononga between all of us as the mokopuna of these soldiers as well. So, yeah, any pātai from the floor? Tātou mā. Tuiao's got one. Oh, our tuahine here, and I'll come to you next.
How do you stop our migrating species from getting mulched up in your turbine?
Our turbines, or vanes if you want to call them, actually move slower than the water current. So we don't have speed that you would have in a propeller, no sharp edges. So fish pass is totally acceptable. There's no fatalities whatsoever.
Also, they're friendly to tuna. That's a good one. Nice. And Tuhi, I was actually going to ask exactly the same question. So that's helpful. Are there any other pātai from the floor? Not at this stage. If you do, please just have a yarn. What I think is also important, which I've definitely learnt, is kind of like my cousin Zach, our practical whānau, who actually have been in the water and understand the water and spend time on the way. Like that knowledge, that mātauranga is often missing from many of the projects in kaupapa, and I think it's important that again we bring our Ahi Kā voices in the co-design of projects, and also think about our other taonga species that will be impacted. So we talk about energy, how awesome it is, but there's a supply chain and there's actually a real impact on Papatūānuku and the taiao. So the Te Mana o Te Wai principles, which looks like they're getting kind of thrown into the corner by our current government, I think we need to advocate for that as well. So another big round of applause, tātou mā. Awesome.